Hey everybody, Daniela here with Parenting L'Chaim. And so today I want to talk about giving multiple warnings and our famous 1, 2, 3 counting with our children. So our traditional parenting teaches us that we are supposed to give warning after warning after warning with our kids, right? How many of you have had to say 20 times, put your shoes on, right? So these are very, very frustrating moments for all parents. And so I want to talk about ways to avoid them. And so we want to kind of take those concepts and we want to throw them out, okay? They don't work. They frustrate us and they frustrate our kids. And unfortunately, they teach our children that they don't have to listen to us the first time we speak or the second, but maybe they have to listen by the third time. So we want to make sure that we are teaching our children that when we speak, it means something. If not, they stop listening to us. Why can we tell our children not to put their shoes on 10 times? Because we will say it 10 times. And by number 10, they know mom sounds like a maniac now, and we're screaming to put our shoes on, and now they have to listen. So what we have done is we've conditioned our children that they do not have to listen until the 5th, 4th, 10th time that we say something. So we are teaching our children that our word is not our word. And so we need to immediately begin to implement listening, following directions, and we need to implement immediately the consequences for not. If not, our children will always believe that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 chances before they actually have to listen to mom, right? So the way that we need to reprogram ourselves as moms and dads, is we need to immediately require a child to follow our directions. And to do that, we need to say, little Jimmy, please put your, not even please, sorry. Yeah, we can say please. We can say, little Jimmy, please put your shoes on now. And when we do not see Jimmy putting his shoes on, we do not say again, Jimmy, I said put my shoes on. Jimmy, I'm not going to say this again. Because when I say I'm not going to say this again and I say it 3 more times, I'm a liar. Ima is not telling the truth. Mom is not telling the truth. And so we want to really avoid making ourselves a liar in front of our children. It lowers our level in our word. And so what we need to do is we need to shift the way that we communicate with our children. So immediately, you need to put your shoes on. When he does not listen, we walk towards Jimmy with his shoes, and we immediately begin making him put his shoes on. We teach him that my word is my word, not the first, second, third, fourth warning before you actually have to listen to mom. So, same thing. If I go to work every day and my boss tells me you have to be there at 8 o'clock, and when I get there at 8:05, she's like, all right, 8:05, you have 10 minutes before you're late. Okay, what does that teach me? I'm not going to get in trouble until 10 minutes after. So really, when my boss says I have to be at work at 8, I have to be there at 8:10. Because she's going to give me warning after warning after warning, and I'm not going to get a consequence for it. So guess what? I'm going to feel like I can get away with it. That's human nature, right? So we need to teach our children that when we speak, it is a command and it is now. It's not an option. So we also want to avoid questions like, would you like to do your homework now? Would you like to get ready for bed? These questions lead to our children's option to say no. And the option is not an option to say no. So we want to make sure the words that we use with our children are assertive. So we want to say, you have 30 minutes until bed. We want to give a warning, right? We want to give a transition time so that whatever they're doing, they can start wrapping up. Then we can come back and we can give a 10-minute, hey, we have 10 minutes. But what we're not going to do is when it's 8 o'clock or 7:30, my kids go to bed at 7:30, at 7:30, we are not going to give them another 10 minutes and another 5 minutes. We are in bed by 7:30, okay? One of the biggest things I hear from moms is kids dallying and not finishing dinner, and then their dinner is run out and now they're late getting to bed. So I implemented a rule when my kids were little, and it worked very, very well. I probably need to re-implement it. Is I basically said, so bedtime is 7:30. So at 7 o'clock, I serve dessert if plates are empty. If they are not empty, there is no dessert that night. So my kids now know. So no, not, oh, Ema, I'm finishing the last couple bites. Nope, too late. At 7 o'clock, Ema picks up dinner plates and we get a treat. And if we don't get a treat, it's because we weren't there on time. And I'm no longer the bad guy. The clock is the bad guy. So what I have done is I have transferred accountability for their actions from me giving a consequence to them understanding that this is the standard. So I'm not the bad guy. The clock's the bad guy. Dang it, we didn't finish dinner by 7 o'clock. And so now they're not upset with me. They're upset that they didn't finish their food. And they've learned that they went to bed without dessert because they chose to not finish their food. So these are where we give multiple decisions to our children and we allow them to learn the consequences of their actions in a healthy way. So now what I'm not doing is I don't have to go in and say, you didn't finish your dinner, I'm not giving you dessert. I don't have to say that. I'm like, oh, bummer, guys. It's already 7:01 and you guys didn't finish dinner. Dang it, I had really yummy treats for us tonight. Maybe tomorrow we'll have it in time. I go on about my day. They now have to sit with the emotions of deciding not to follow Ema's directions. So this is where we want to teach our children, because this teaches internal responsibility instead of pointing the blame. I'm not the bad guy because they knew my standard. And so we set a standard in our house and then we live by it. And this is where we eliminate so much of the frustration. So we don't say, do your homework. We say, when your homework is done and Ema's looked over it, you can go ride your bike. So now, how long it takes from when they follow directions to when they ride their bike is on them. So now, if they only have 5 minutes on their bike, or possibly they don't ever get to ride their bike, it's because they chose not to follow directions and they suffered the natural consequences of not riding their bike. So if they know from 5 to 6 p.m. is riding our bike time and they choose to not do homework and they start homework at 4:55, guess what? That's cutting into bike time. That's a really big bummer. You missed out on bike time. I'm not the bad guy then. Their actions, their procrastination is now what they have to look at. So I want to really encourage everyone. Number one, like I started with, do not give multiple warnings to our children. We're not a repeat, When we are on repeat, we get tired of hearing ourselves, let alone them hearing us, and they're not listening. That's why the first time you say, put your shoes on, Jimmy doesn't listen, because he doesn't have to listen, because he knows Ema's going to say it 5 more times. So it needs to be, put your shoes on, and I walk over and I help him put his shoes on immediately if he doesn't follow through. In the beginning, this can be a lot more work for us as moms and dads, but in the end, it teaches them to listen to us the first time we speak, and we don't have to continually repeat over and over and sound like a broken record, which is really frustrating for all of us. So avoid giving multiple warnings. We do give warnings on time that is coming up, but we do that up until the point we've already set, if that makes sense. So if we know bedtime is 7:30, we can obviously come in and say 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes, giving them concept of time. But what we are not going to do is give them 5 more minutes after 7:30. 7:30 is the line, right? So I hope this was helpful for you. It's going to feel very unnatural and it's going to feel weird to jump up and get involved right away. So when little Jimmy is not putting on his shoes, we immediately walk up to him and we begin putting his shoes on for him, getting him to follow directions. Here are your shoes, sit down and put your shoes on. So what we are teaching Jimmy is our word matters. It's not optional, and we have to follow directions when someone speaks. So be sure that we are not minimizing our own authority and our own word among our children by giving multiple chances, warnings, counting to 5. If a behavior is supposed to stop now, it does not have 5 seconds to stop. We don't have 5 seconds to stop hitting our sister, right? You better stop hitting your sister. 1, 2, absolutely not. We don't have 5 seconds to stop hitting sister. We have 0 seconds to stop hitting sister. We're stopping hitting sister now. And how many of us sit on the couch, sitting on our phone, stop hitting your sister? We keep going. We keep going. They keep fighting. So we have to get up, mom and dad. We have to put our cell phones, our laptops, whatever it is we're doing down. Yes, it's inconvenient. I get it. I'm the queen of being on my phone. Don't get me wrong. We need to put them down. We need to get up off of our bottoms. We need to walk across the room, and we need to break up the fight immediately. And we separate them, and we give them tasks on opposite ends of the house. We need to say, okay, you're going to go this way, you're going to go this way. We immediately need to intervene. We cannot teach that behavior is not acceptable if we don't get up and stop it. The only way that they know it's serious is if we stop the behavior. We cannot allow siblings to hit each other. We cannot allow siblings to push each other. We cannot allow name calling. We immediately get up. We intervene. We say, this is an unacceptable behavior. You need to go to your room until you can speak kindly to your sister. Go. Now it's his decision. Now the ball is back in his court. He has to take personal responsibility. And when he's calmed down, he can come out and he can apologize to his sister and they move on. So we need to make sure that we're taking the power. And a lot of parents are like, I don't have time for that. And to those parents, my answer to you is you don't have time not to. Because in the long term, we spend an average of 2 to 3 hours a day arguing, nagging, counting, saying no to our children. So if we can minimize that by jumping and taking action right away. Jimmy doesn't put his shoes on, we get up and immediately, here are your shoes, we're putting them on. Ema said shoes are going on. So I want to really encourage you, follow through quickly, change your mindset. There does not need to be warnings. Our children are not dogs. Our children are human. Our children are very, very capable of following, and they heard you the first time. Oftentimes what I will do, I have a little one who tends to ignore when we speak. And so I will come to that child and I will say, can you repeat what I just said to you? And then he'll repeat what I just said. So that lets me know it was not that the child did not hear me. The child chose to ignore me. And if the child chose to ignore me, somewhere along the way, I have sent a message that it's okay to ignore what I say. So that correction is on me, not on the child. The child's not disrespectful. The child doesn't have a problem. I have taught this child that it is okay to ignore my commands. So this is where we need to shift gears, take some personal responsibility, take a little bit of time out of our day and say, I'm going to reteach my children that my word matters. I hope this was helpful for you guys. Please leave any questions or any comments or any input on the video in the comments. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.